should have copies of the documents, whether they got them with them in front of them or not, I don't know, we'll find out in a minute. At this time, which is now, according to my watch, 12:10, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is a meeting on May the 8th, 2020 of the Town Center Committee, and it's being done via the Zoom software. So we're all in remote places, in our own places somewhere where we won't catch anything from each other, hopefully. But we wanted to have a meeting today to answer in particular requests that came to us from Quantum Engineering. And that's the reason I wanted to go ahead with the meeting right now, because they're looking for an answer that they can supply to the government regarding the Sahegan River. So our order of business, normally I would ask Karen to take notes, but I don't know what that'll do. I'll have to take my own notes today, Karen. You did a good job the last time. But our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of February the 14th, which Karen prepared and I adjusted a little bit. And I think they're ready for approval, but I would like your approval on those minutes. And Karen.
Motion to approve.
I have just a little tiny correction.
Yes.
On the second page,
Correct.
where it says school district budget 2021, that first complete paragraph, if you go down to the third line, it says has been postponed to 2120, and it just should be reversed 2021. But other than that, I don't have anything else.
I'm sorry. Can I get back on your the town budget? You're talking the budget item. Could you get me? I wasn't on the page with you. Could you say that over again?
Okay, I'm just going to read the first and second sentence. Hearing on the draft budget is scheduled for 18 February. Paving and sidewalk for O'Gara Drive has been postponed to, and then it says 2120. So maybe it should be 2122. I don't know what.
Get me on the paragraph, please. I'm not with you. I don't know where you are in the minutes.
Top of page 2, Nelson.
Oh, okay. All right. Now we're getting there. The right page, anyway. Now,
Third sentence.
Please say again. Third sentence is sidewalks on Continental Boulevard. This will be on the school district warrant for 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry. Third sentence in the second paragraph.
Okay.
Instead of 2120, 2021.
Or should it be 2122?
Budget year.
Oh, good question.
Yes, it should be 2122.
Okay, so it was confusing.
Yeah, I can see why. Thank you. Anything else on these? All set. Peter, all set. If that's the case, I'll call for the
Nelson,
question.
Nelson, I have one for you.
Yes, go.
On page 1 under old business.
Yes.
We have Kyle Fox as the PWD representative. Can you change that to Public Works or DPW?
Okay.
We do not like the PWD designation.
You do not like that. I thought that was the official designation, to be honest. Okay.
It was at one point, and then it got changed back to where it should be.
That's I change. Nobody sent me a memo. You'd rather have it. DPW is correct, huh?
That would be fine. Thank you.
Okay.
I thought it was always that.
Just missed Matt, did you have something you wanted to add to this? He was waving at us a minute ago, but. Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve these minutes with those changes, if that's the wish of the committee. Bill moves and Karen seconds. And all those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes with those corrections? Aye?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nelson, do we have to do a roll call vote because it's a video
Yes.
conference?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yes. So I think all were in favor. Is that correct? I didn't hear any opposed.
Finley, yes.
Okay. And Matt
Chevanelli, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicholas, he doesn't vote. Bill Wilkes.
I approve.
Okay. Karen.
Yes.
Nelson. And then Cummings. And Kyle.
Yes.
Kyle. I think I got everybody. Oh, Peter Flood. Did we get Peter Flood?
I approve.
Okay. All right. That's a unanimous vote. Good work. Okay. That's through that one. The next bit of business gets into the Sahegan River Trail status. And there's two things we want to talk about. Well, one, maybe Kyle could bring the whole committee up to date on just where we are today. We have this letter we've been asked to respond to, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but maybe Kyle, you could just fill us all in on where we are in this great bureaucratic maze that we're trying to get our way through.
I'd be happy to. So the project continues to move along. Where we are in the process is our consultant is working to finalize the NEPA document, which stands for National Environmental Policy Act. And what that is, it's a document that we have to put together on any federal funded project that looks at all areas of environmental concern from the project standpoint, in terms of historic, heritage, environmental, conservation, all those different stakeholders that are involved in any project. It's a fairly comprehensive document, and it's the reason that Nelson received the letter that we're going to be talking about. So I won't get into too much of that more at this point until we have that next discussion item on the agenda. Moving forward, once the NEPA document is completed, it'll be submitted to DOT for their review, and then it'll coincidentally be sent up to Federal Highway for their review. Once the NEPA document is approved by both agencies, we can then move into final design on the project. And frankly, because of the complexity of this project, much of the final design work is completed. We just haven't officially been given the go-ahead to move into the final design. At the completion of final design, we'll be ready to put the plans on shelf, which is that DOT term that I've talked about, for being ready to bid. And we still anticipate being ready to bid the project this December. We're still on schedule for that. One piece of good news that I saw recently, you all may recall, I've spoken previously about the GASIT hearing process that we spoke at regarding the pushing out of this project in the 10-year plan. That happened last fall. The 10-year plan still hasn't been finalized yet, but there is a draft on the DOT website that is labeled as governor's suggestions for the 10-year plan, and our project has been moved up to fiscal 21. So we went from 20 to 24, now back to 21 in the draft 10-year plan. So that's really good news, and it's encouraging that awesome. I have a sense that if we can meet our goal of getting the project advertised this December, we'll be constructing it next spring. So that would be really great news, and I think there is a likely chance that could happen.
Good.
That's all great news. Now, okay, thanks, Kyle. The letter that we received from Quantum is one in a series of letters asking us to okay the design as they submitted it. We did see that design just before the February meeting, and we had it at the February meeting. Kyle has an updated of that, which he may want to show us here in a minute if he can figure out how to get that onto the screen.
Yep, I can do that now.
Basically, it's unchanged. This design that he's going to show you is unchanged from the design we saw in February. And there it is. There it is in all its glory. The yellow being the trail itself as it goes from Watson Park through the sluiceway under Route 3 and then up along the river, and they've got it tracked all the way as far as through the former wetlands and on up to the connection with the trail that leads on up to the high school. So this is it. There you can see on the left now, you can see the culvert that goes over the former wetland that allows the former wetland to drain. It's a seasonal type of draining that goes on under there, but has to be provided for. And everything else is just about what we saw before. They have preserved the old gateworks, part of the gateworks that allowed water to flow into the sluiceway back in the day when the dam was there and the water was much higher in that region. So those things are pretty much unchanged. When we saw it in February, we made two suggestions to the design which have not been incorporated. Well, one of them is a connection to the fire station on the west side of Route 3, some kind of a pathway that goes up to the fire station. And that is something that we had discussed way back with Chief Currier back when we first started talking about all of this, so that we would have access for EMT or emergency personnel directly from the fire station into the trail system. And they thought that was a good idea, and we still do. So in my draft response to this letter requesting our comments, I have included another recommendation that be done. I've talked to Quantum Engineering, Bill, I've forgotten his name now, Bill, Jim Bouchard. And he says, yeah, he agrees with that. That should have been in there, and it's just an oversight and no big deal. It won't affect the cost or schedule or anything like that. The other thing that we had recommended once before was that the chain link fence on the east side of the trail, on the east side of the Route 3, we had asked that it include some vinyl covering on the on the chain link for aesthetic reasons. We wanted to make it look as nice as possible. And so we had said that before. Again, they see no problem with that as being any kind of a problem. The one other thing that we had asked for was the fire department. Oh yes, we had what?
The mount.
Bronze plaque.
The plaque, right? The bronze plaque, which was donated by the Pennachuck Waterworks as part of their punishment for removing the dam, and we need a place to put that where it'll look good and show. I didn't make any recommendation. I just said let's get it in there somewhere. And so those are my suggestions in the letter of response that I wrote. And it's now here for your review, comment, approval, or disapproval as you see fit. Back over to me. And let's see what ideas.
Does everybody have a copy of the draft letter, or should I put it up on the screen?
No, I have it.
I have it.
I have it. Okay.
I pulled it out, but I don't know if everybody remembers stuff. Okay.
What I would add to that, Nelson, is so these letters went out from Quantum to a whole bunch of groups, including the Conservation Commission, the town manager, Sauhegan River Local Advisory Committee, and a fair number of other groups. So there's going to be a number of responses coming back. One of the interesting notes that we got right away was from the Department of Natural and Cultural, I'm going to butcher that.
Historic? Is it
Historical Commission of the state?
No, the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
okay.
So interestingly, and I've got a letter up here that you guys can see. So interestingly, because federal funds were used on Watson Park, it's listed as a 6F project, and it requires sign off from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. So Quantum and Public Works has been in contact about that, and their main concern was that this project will not have an adverse effect to the park. And so we've told them that it's actually been planned for and will actually add to the park. And in light of that, Eileen wrote a letter, which we submitted back to DNCR, which is the letter you see on your screen now, kind of listing those things and tying it back to the 2009 PED master plan. So that's already happened and in progress. But all of these letters are important, and will go a long way to getting this project through the NEPA process.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm glad nobody had any problem. I didn't realize so many others were being asked to comment too, but as long as they're commenting favorably, they were concerned about aesthetics in the park, or I think this improves it. It improves the park and the whole idea of connecting to trail, etc.
Sure. Yeah. The person in Concord doesn't know what our project is, and he just has to be protective of the park. That's his job, and he just wanted to make sure that that was the case.
Yeah. Okay.
He asked questions such as, will we be staging construction equipment? Will the park be closed during construction? How long will the construction be going on? So we've answered all those questions and really emphasized that it's just the extreme southwestern portion of the park that'll be impacted by the project. And much of the impact area is already behind chain link fence. So it really has no impact on the existing park itself. So I think they'll be satisfied with that answer, and they'll give their sign off to our project.
Good.
Fully expect.
The other thing is the safety on that sidewalk. You know, that those steel plates and all of that crumbling concrete is going to be removed and replaced and made better and safer, I would think.
Absolutely. But that he wouldn't care about because it's not part of the park.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I thought it would
No,
be.
that's within the right of way.
Okay. Okay.
So that's technically outside of the park.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Carl, for that. I wonder if I could get copies of those letters, and I'd certainly like a copy of this plan that's up on the screen now for our files, just so we keep track of what we're showing. We showed this plan for the plan that's up on the screen now is the plan of the whole pathway, and we did show it to people at the Winter Carnival, and so it had some public exposure there, and everybody is thumbs up. Everybody that I talk to likes it, so we just add that to one more feather. Comments from the committee, please.
I'm glad to see that access from the fire department was just an oversight.
Yeah, I'd like to believe it was just an oversight, but the engineers that I talked to from Quantum, the engineer that I talked to, Jim Bouchard, says, "Oh yeah, it's easy to do." I was glad to hear that it was easy to do, and it wasn't going to make us go back and do another historic resources study or something.
Wait till he sees that cliff.
Well, yeah, that's why that connection is sort of over in the west end of this thing, but it'll be a connection there. It is a climb, a bit of a climb, but the alternative is,
Well, and the cliff is going to be even steeper because there's now going to be a retaining wall there. So likely what'll have to happen is we'll have to build stairs into the retaining wall to make that connection. But that's something that we can fess out in the final design part of the project.
That's what Bouchard thought, and he thought you could do it without stairs. If you go back a little.
Yeah, it would definitely have to be stairs.
What's that?
I think it would definitely have to be stairs because of the retaining wall. Can you hear me now, Nelson?
Yes, I can. Yeah. I was just saddened.
Okay, I said I think it'll definitely need to be stairs because of the retaining wall there. I'll zoom in on that area so people can see it.
Yeah. The retaining wall, at least the view that I have on my screen now, shows the retaining wall coming to an end, and the chain link fence above it, and
that fence above where can you see my cursor moving, Nelson?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the existing wooden fence.
Oh,
that's
okay.
out there.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't want anybody going over the retaining wall. I was thinking going further east, back where that drain line is. You see that?
Over in this area?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once we get through the NEPA process and we get into final design, we can figure out how best to make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, as long as we don't, like I say, have to go back and do an environmental study or something.
No, we won't have to.
There's no like frogs there or special kinds of insects or anything like that?
Say again, please. What? I didn't hear you, Bill.
No, I was just joking. I said there's no kind of frogs or special type of insects or anything like that we gotta worry about.
No, I think that dead Indian is buried deep enough.
Okay.
So I would, any other questions or comments from the committee and
Are you looking for a motion to approve this letter?
yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Oh, I would wholeheartedly do that.
Okay, thank you. Bill.
I would second.
And Bill has made a second. We have Bill and Bill made and seconded. And any discussion? I guess not. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
We have to do the roll call again, Nelson.
Okay. To make it easy, is there anybody abstaining or objecting? If not, then I can say in my minutes of the meeting, one by one, I'll name you, unless that's illegal somehow.
I'm not sure, Nelson.
Yeah. All right.
Nelson, I'm not
Bill
sure, but I think you
Cummings.
do have to call out names.
I
Yeah,
think
I
so
would
too.
concur
Sorry.
with that. Having a few school board meetings that you have to call out names.
Matt Chevenel.
Yes.
Okay. Finley Rothhouse.
Yes.
Yes. Nelson Disco. Karen Freed.
Yes.
And Bill Wilkes.
Yes.
And Peter Flood.
Yes.
Okay. I got all yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them. Right number. It was the Valley. Oh, Kyle. I didn't get Kyle.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. We got through that part of the business, and I'm happy about that. We'll make that move out today. I have talked with Becky. I told her I would send her a version of the letter, which she will in turn send on to Quantum Engineering. So, let me see here. Any changes in the budgets? When do the votes come up? These are important votes for us. The budgets that have to be voted. Let's start with Matt Chevenel, and your budget is it next week that there's going to be a vote on the 14th, or is that?
No, it's we vote at the same time the town does. So
Okay.
the latest information I have on that, and Finley can correct me, is June 23rd.
Tentatively.
That's
Tentative.
correct.
And that impacts us on the status of the future of the sidewalk, because in that vote, there's a warrant article to conduct the master plan study, which is going to plan for the sidewalk. And it's $82,500. It was put as a warrant article. And if that warrant article fails, then I have no master plan study. Now, that doesn't mean sidewalk planning and preparation on O'Gara cannot continue in some form or fashion, but it would have been preferable to have it part of a larger master plan. But we're kind of waiting to see what the vote holds for us and see if it does indeed pass. So we have a few warrant articles out there. It's not in the operating budget. If it was in the operating budget, it would have been fine, but because it's a separate warrant article, we have to wait for the vote. And right now, the tentative plan is June 23rd, unless we hear otherwise.
Yeah. Okay. Finley, what about the town budget? Now we're in the budget for the town, right? To do.
Yeah, what Lynn came to our previous meeting and explained that she can only postpone it 2 weeks at a time, but she said with the governor's comments on what his expectations are, she said June 23rd is the likely date. I suppose it could be pushed out further, depends how everything goes with the virus, but that's right now we were told that we could expect not before June 23rd, and June 23rd is the likely date.
Okay.
And as well, she also encouraged people to vote absentee ballot, because I guess the state has modified the rules that dictate when you can draw an absentee ballot, and it has made it so everybody could do it now. You don't have to fit into the statutory requirements.
Yeah, I was glad to see that. That's a good thing for turnout because
I have a question. How do you get an absentee ballot when everything is closed?
good question.
You actually, on the town website, I believe there's a link right on the front page there, and and I've not done it myself, so I probably should have looked before I give you the information, but I believe you click on that and you, I suspect you have to print off a form to send it in to the town hall, and they get you your absentee ballot.
Yeah,
But if you look at the links, it's supposed to be very easy.
Okay.
Yeah, there is indeed a link on the town website. I checked it out myself, and it brings you right to a PDF. You fill out the PDF form, and then you mail it to the town clerk, and they send you an absentee ballot. It's a fairly simple form. It has a little checklist, so it's
Okay.
there.
Good, thank you.
Good.
Awesome.
I'll tell people that too.
Yeah.
I've been asked.
Yeah. Yeah, I had been asked, and I had it answered, and I forgot the answer, but you brought it back. That's good. Yeah. Okay, that takes care of it. Now, just one more thing on the town ballot, the work for sidewalks is included in the budget, right? So it's not a separate warrant article. Am I correct on that, Kyle?
Can you say that again, Nelson? The phone was just ringing.
Kyle, in the town, the additional sidewalk work that we were planning to do in 2021 is in the budget for the town.
That's correct.
So it's not as.
Yeah, it was in the budget because it was going to be funded out of the surplus.
Right.
With the town budget, with us, our default budget is more than the budget that we're asking for. So the projects and the funding that we have in there, which aren't too many, even if the budget fails, that means we get more money. So the budget is obviously going to pass because that's less of an impact. Is the town's default budget lower than what you're asking for? So is there a greater chance of the town's budget not passing because of that?
Do you want to speak to that, Finley, or do you want me to?
Well, there is that chance, if I understood the question, that because our default budget is definitely lower, it could happen. But we believe that that the proposal we've put forward to the town has a lot of information backing it up, and it would be the best path for the town to take. I suppose there's always that possibility that the budget might not pass, which would put us in a little bit more of a predicament because of the way we fund our budgets and so on. But so I don't know if I understood that question exactly, but if that answered it, I'm glad.
Yeah, no, that was exactly what I was driving at. But I think historically the town has had good fortune with passing budgets that are a little bit above the default budget. So that.
The guidance we've received as department heads is that if we end up in default, we're going to have to shave about 1.6 million from this year's budget.
Yeah.
It sounds like my sidewalk.
It's your sidewalk and a whole lot more.
A whole lot more.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, okay. Well, that's good news. Thank you for telling us, and everybody turn out and vote. And I hope the turnout is good. It's going to be scary to see how we get turnout in this kind of an environment, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Moving along to the next. Anything else on that topic while the board is here?
Actually, the only other thing that Lynn alluded to was there's a possibility she's going to be requesting to move it to J Muse only, which of course we always hate to do because and I apologize for the wind. I know my phone isn't the best method to do this, but we don't like to change the voting sites all the time, but it might be beneficial with getting the signage out and notification to people. For this time, because of the situation we find ourselves in, JMU's might be the best place. It would help on the manpower running the elections, and it would be, I'm thinking, we haven't spoken about this yet, but I'm thinking it would be a safer environment to do it in. But that's still to be determined.
And it brings up a whole bunch of other complications.
Yeah.
Because everyone in the other two wards would have to be notified by mail that their polling location is changed, and then notified again to change it back for November, actually for September, for the primaries. So there's a lot of complication to going from 3 to 1 to 3.
Yeah, okay, hang on to that phone, Finley, it's going to be ringing off the hook.
Well, we're prepared to go any way you would like. Right now, as far as we're concerned, it's JMU's and the middle school as in the past, and we're going to continue to operate on that assumption until we get something formal from Lynn or the town council.
And that is the thing to do. That information was just a thought that floated the other day. So it is, as you just said, Matt, nothing has changed.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Anything else on that subject? The next item on our agenda is the additions for the TCC on the town website and its status. And I know that LaValle wanted to talk to us about that. I know he and Bill have been talking some. And maybe Nicholas, if you're hearing this, you'll jump in now and we'll see what kind of a discussion there is.
He's unmuted himself. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah.
I actually wasn't going to speak on the town website per se. I was more going to talk about the social media aspect. But
in our simple minds, it all ties together. It's one subject. The objective being to get more communication with the community as a whole and the town. It's what we, the town center committee, are trying to do and what we are doing and the things accomplished. So it's a matter of communication, and so they all got sort of lumped together. Sometimes we were talking about Facebook, sometimes we were talking about web pages, and we don't know what we're talking about.
I think, may I make a suggestion?
Please.
We have already a farmer's market page through is it the Agricultural Commission, Nicholas?
yes, the Agriculture Commission has a Facebook presence. They have a Facebook page, Merrimack Farmers Market.
Okay, so that's available. So could we not just do a town center committee Facebook page?
I don't see why you couldn't. And what I had said to Bill Cummings earlier this week, and we had a good discussion altogether about this. I had sent the town social media, you could call it a policy, you could call it guidelines.
Guidelines, yeah.
And it's mostly relative to town departments, but I don't see how it also can't be associated with boards and committees as well. So I actually, taking a look at the Agriculture Commission's farmers market page on Facebook, it's actually really good. They do a good job of adminning that and posting content. And they create engagement as well. So that's one of the things that I'd want to talk about is if you were to create a Facebook page for the town center committee, what you'd largely want to to post on there is content that creates engagement, because that's how you're going to gain followers. That's how you're going to gain interest in your committee. I'm assuming that what the town center committee would want to get out of having social media presence is to create awareness and create engagement with residents. So what I would suggest doing is you could take a look at how Merrimack TV and the Department of Public Works uses their Facebook pages. But I'd suggest taking a real good look at how the Farmers Market Facebook page is used, because that's more similar to what you would be doing versus a town department.
Okay. And if we did such a thing, who would administer it?
A member of your committee.
Does that mean respond to posts and so on?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting.
I was waiting for Peter to finish blowing his nose. Yeah, I would, the other thing too is I'd maybe reach out to someone from the Agriculture Commission to verify that the admin is indeed someone from the board, but I guess I'm assuming a lot here, but the contact is merrimack.gardens@gmail.com. The town hall phone number is the phone number that's listed, but I'm almost positive it's someone from the Agriculture Commission who's at the admin of that page.
Okay, well, that's something for us to look into, and I think one of our concerns, Nick, was that we didn't feel we had anybody on the committee who could take on that role of being the administrator, if you will, or the person who answers the queries and things like that. It's somebody that has to put a little time in on it and continuous monitoring. I would think if we're going to have a dialogue, you need somebody on each end of a dialogue, and it would have to be somebody from the committee. And I think most of the committee members felt they really weren't the person to do that. And but we'll look further. And thank you for that input. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
The other thing that I mentioned to Bill, we're also a resource to you as you're a committee with the town. And I think we've definitely created videos with the farmers market actually, and a couple of other boards as well. And I told Bill to consider taking advantage of our resources, and then also the resources of other departments that have Facebook pages. So, Merrimack, the media division may be able to help you drum up interest in your board and committee. I just, I wouldn't know where you'd want to start with that sort of thing.
We did do a little bit of that. We did do a video. We did a video of the installation of the little piece of sidewalk or pathway through Abbey Griffin Park. And that was videotaped by your crew. And they came out and did it. And then when we had a dedication ceremony, I think they came and did that. And we put it all together. And it was running on Merrimack TV for quite a while. I don't know if it still runs or not. It's probably a little obsolete now. Not truly obsolete, but if you've seen it 6 or 7 times, you've probably had enough. So thank you for that offer, Nick. I appreciate that, and that could be helpful to us, especially as we get into the Leaving River Trail. Now, we had been sort of cranking up for that, and then we we discovered that we weren't going to be doing anything very near future, when everything got bumped out to doing it in 2024, we had some help offer from the high school. One of the teachers over there and a couple of the students were going to get involved with it. But when we realized that we're going to be graduating and working for a living somewhere else by the time this actually got built, we didn't go any further with it last fall. But
well, the other issue, Nelson, if you remember, the other issue was poison ivy.
Well, yeah, poison ivy is.
Well, that's not insignificant. We'd have to get the parents notified that there's poison ivy there, and so.
Or keep the people out of the poison ivy section.
Yes.
Is there, I'm sure I can find this on the town website, but does your board have sort of a mission statement?
Oh, yes, yeah.
So what I'm going to offer the committee, because I want to kind of walk away from this discussion thinking that there's something we can kind of offer to at least move forward and maybe drum up some interest with the town center committee. What I can do is we've been producing some great content with our part-time employee, Colin Marr. He's been kind of spearheading the Merrimack in Motion taped segments. We've done some with Public Works. We've done some with the library. Maybe I can have Colin take a look at the mission statement and perhaps produce a video about the town center committee based off of that mission statement.
Yeah, that'd
be great.
Yeah.
So at least that way we're creating some relevant content that doesn't necessarily have a shelf life to it. It's something that we can post on our social media page. I'm sure Department of Public Works would share it, probably get the police department to share it, and we can obviously play it on the channel. But that might at least get some interest going, or at least start creating more awareness of the town center committee's existence.
Right.
And maybe in there too is if you're also, are you presently looking for new members?
We have opening.
Always listening.
Yes.
Always.
So
yeah.
maybe that can be a component of it, is that the video is kind of seeking new membership. And if, I don't know what's allowed, but if you could, maybe we could actually say that, we're looking for people with a variety of, interests that may include, a social media background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I can do that. I'll send the mission statement. I'll push that to my staff and tell them to go ahead and start brainstorming a video to get people involved with Town Center.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much for coming to this meeting.
Yes.
I didn't have to travel too far. I'm here in my office, so I'm looking at it now. Town Center charge. Oh yeah, this is great. This is great.
You should read it out loud.
So I'm gonna pass that along to staff right now.
There's one thing that Nelson needs to do for the next meeting, though. Straighten out the pictures on your wall behind you. They're
Oh my God, are they all off center?
They're just a little bit tilted, aren't they?
Yeah, I know. I want
One's
to come over and just go, whoop. I'm sorry.
Did you have an earthquake that nobody knew about?
I tell you, they weren't crooked when I set them up there, but somehow or other they move,
Yeah.
I don't know who comes in here in the night and moves them around. It's nice and straight, Nick. I'll give you credit for that. Yeah,
Yeah, mine are pretty good.
yeah, and
They are.
pretty good too. Yeah, I guess I'm the outlier here. Yeah.
Nelson, I'll put on a mask and come over to your house and I'll straighten those out for you. I'll put on a hazmat suit.
You need one to get in.
Yeah. So I can do that for you guys. Is there anything else you need from me?
Boy, No, just a big thank you, Nick. That's
Absolutely. And I had a great conversation with Bill. And if Bill wants to kind of be the liaison, to me or chat with me, because Bill's worked with my staff in the past.
Yep.
So
Yes, I will, but I will say, folks, I really do not want to be the administrator of this thing. I really don't. If we could find maybe a new member, volunteer, somebody that's willing to do it, I'd be all over that, because I got my own business. I'm not going to have time to be replying to Facebook posts at 10 o'clock at night. It won't happen.
I will say, just from my experience in running the Merrimack TV page, as far as when Merrimack TV and the media division gets a message via Facebook, we have it set up as an auto response so that they're directed to email us. So then that way we can, manage that sort of request. And typically any sort of comment that gets left, we just sort of let it sit there. We don't necessarily engage with the public via the comments unless it's sort of an easy answer, or if it's a direct question, sometimes we will, but typically the engagement that gets created on the Merrimack TV page, at least, it's mostly people that are talking amongst each other. They're not necessarily looking for engagement with the staff or the admin. But that could vary depending on, who's adminning the page, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. That's good.
Absolutely. So I'll just I'm going to pass this along to Colin and tell him to start working on this, and I'll touch base with Bill Cummings maybe sometime next week.
That sounds great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
And I'm going to turn off my camera, but I'm still watching you guys. I'm a super fan of the town center committee, so.
We need all the fans.
Take care, guys.
We love the pandering too. Thanks.
Great. Well, that takes care of that item and came out with a lot more information this time than we've had in a while. So that was great that Nick could join us.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda was the results of the Winter Carnival, which Bill and I were at. And was there someone else there, Bill? I forgot. Was you and I?
Bill
The two
Wells.
bills.
Two bills.
Two
Oh,
bills.
yeah, that bill. I knew there were two bills. I get the bills. Anyway, I would say that this Winter Carnival was, at least our booth at this Winter Carnival, was better attended than any of the previous Winter Carnivals we've gone to. We had a lot of interest, and it's all positive. People come and they learn things. We were showing the layout of the new trail on the Sauhegan River Trail, and that was very well received. People seemed interested in it, and we gave out a lot of brochures. There's a lot of trail maps out there, because I think there's two for everybody in town. But there's still very positive feedback. So I'm glad we did it. It was only a few hours, and it was a lot of fun. It turned out to be a good day for the carnival, and a lot of people came with their kids, and interesting.
It was great before everything got shut down. It was perfect.
That was before, that was about the last thing we did before everything got shut down. It was February 15th is when it was. So just then. So
I mean, I think some of the feedback that I would offer is that people really like walkability and, the ability to do something outside of automobiles.
Yep.
So, I mean, we did have several people attend the booth, and they were just gung-ho that we were thinking about more trails, more walkability in town, maybe bicycling, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't avoid that. That is something that people desire in a community. So the more we can do, I think it's a real positive.
Yeah, I think it's catching on. It's a lot more positive than it was 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
It's really grown, and people are expecting it. And when are you going to do that? You talked about this last year. Well, hopefully this year we'll be able to do some things. If the Sahib River Trail can go ahead, it looks like it's on the verge. And also, if we can get the town budget passed, that would be great to have some construction go on to show that there is some interest in the town by the town managers and the town government to proceed with these ideas. And this is good news. The new business for this. Anything else anybody want to say about the Winter Carnival? No. New business. We got two possibilities coming up here. We've got the farmers market again and the pancake breakfast. Let's talk about the pancake breakfast because that's the weird one. Is it on for the 4th of July or not?
It's off.
It's off.
OFF.
Okay.
Because we don't have access to the school, so we can't have a pancake breakfast without access to the school. There is some talk about maybe doing it at another time, but that's TBD at this point.
I see. When you say we don't have access to the school, is that because somebody decided we aren't going to do it anymore, or somebody?
No, it's COVID related. I mean,
yeah.
I think, there's too many uncertainties, and I don't think, the whole social distancing issue and all that. I mean, Finley might be able to talk about July 4th is pretty much canceled from a traditional standpoint in Merrimack, with the exception of fireworks, Finley?
I believe that's what I heard last, and they were talking about possibly something in the fall, but I'm very vague on it all. It's just that I know that they were saying it was not happening because of Corona.
As far as the summer goes and utilization of the school facilities, our facilities are closed. Even though we run a summer program for kids, we're going to do as much as we can do, but it's going to be remotely. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to in July open the doors and everybody's going to flood in. It can't happen that way. In fact, we're trying to figure out what best way to manage students, especially at the high school, going into their lockers and getting their materials for the end of school year. So we're trying to manage graduation. How do we do that? So we're talking about a lot of things. But the one thing we don't want to do is to have people congregate en masse and, violate any directives from the state or put people in jeopardy of coming in close contact. We've even talked about a drive-by graduation. A lot of stuff is on the table. But then again, how do you manage that? So that's a conversation with the police. So as far as the school buildings, everything is off till September. And then we'll see what September brings us.
Okay. That pretty well puts a nail in that one. What about the farmers market? Is that going to go ahead, or do we know? I see Karen shaking her head in a no.
I don't know. I just don't see things happening in a normal way this summer, but that's not supported by any information.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the tenor that I'm getting.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just leave those on hold then until this whole thing settles down, if it ever settles down. We'll have to replan at that time when we know what's going on, but it probably isn't going to happen.
Well, the farmers market, isn't that like the Minor family, that farm? Aren't those the people that are running the farmers market mainly?
The Agriculture Commission.
The Agriculture Commission?
Agriculture Commission that is, yeah. Bob McCabe heads that up. the miners are big supporters of it, being farmers and all, and
Yeah.
animal raisers. But I think and maybe Miner took care of the winter farmers market for Bob McCabe. But Bob McCabe.
Yeah, actually, the committee does run it. I believe Bob McCabe runs the summer market, and Don Miner ran the winter market. You were correct in that.
Yeah.
I don't think the winter market went on this past year. It was, just a difficult time and everything. But it is the group that puts that together. They tend to be active in the agricultural world, which is what drew them to that committee.
I'm just wondering how you would do social distancing. The outdoor part is great, but it's usually pretty small. I don't know. I guess maybe they could spread it out in the parking lot, but I don't know.
I think a lot of decisions are made, like in school. I suspect a lot of decisions are made because you don't need the liability of somebody getting sick because you didn't clean properly or something, and
Yep.
So that will have a major impact unless the federal government, I believe, deals with it. But otherwise, you have to be very cautious. I mean, Kids Cove. I'm a believer that people have to be smart about it, and but because of potential liability and kids, chewing on the rails, it's just not good. But so.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just leave those go for the future then. I think we've talked about TV and media presentations. Anything else that we'd ought to be doing to advertise ourselves? I think we got some good ideas today from Nick and Bill, and maybe make something happen there.
What about in lieu of like farmers market and the pancake breakfast? What about having like a laminated, something laminated that we could put down at Watson Park? There's quite a few people that go down there. Strategically place something down there that shows what we're working on or whatever.
Like a sign post, you mean? There is a little bulletin board there, isn't there already? One of those little kiosks?
There is a kiosk there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like something like, that might show, the whole trail project for next year. And
we could put it on the door of the porta potty.
Put it on the inside of the door.
They took the porta potties away. I think, didn't they?
Yeah.
There is one there.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
I'll have to remember that in my walk. Thanks. Yeah, the one
Just
on O'Gara
a
Drive
thought.
is gone.
Just have my marketing hat on, that's all.
Okay. Well, we've got brochures. If you think there's a good place to put a few of them in a little pouch or something, the little maps that show the trails and all of that.
They have to be either hermetic or they've got to be able to be weather tolerant, though.
Well, yes, unless I was going to use the ones we have under the kiosk, they would be reasonably well protected. Just a thought.
I think they actually make a little plastic container that has like a flip lid on it, don't they? Like I see realtors have those things, don't they?
Yeah.
We might be able to afford one of those in our budget, online or whatever.
Money left in our budget. People have donated to us. We have a little bit of money in our budget.
I didn't know we had a budget.
Well,
I think we've had $300 for the past 10 years.
we supposedly have a bank account, but I don't get reports on it. But we had some people who donated money toward building sidewalks. It was small.
Is our money held by the town? Seriously, like if we found a little thing that we could hang on the bulletin board that, you know, we could put brochures in and it costs us $20 or whatever.
We could,
Unless you go to the town, go to,
McKaylee, Paul.
Paul.
Well, he knows what our account is. We've got a little account. And there's about $1,000 in it.
I'll take a look online and see if there's anything appropriate. Maybe I'll donate it.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, Bill.
Weather tolerant brochure holder.
Thanks. Someday we'll get you a sidewalk. Any public comments at this time? I'll open for comments from the public. I don't think there's anybody out there.
There's no public.
I guess not. Next meeting, when can we meet again? I guess originally I had thought we would meet maybe before the 4th of July if we were going to do the 4th of July, but the 4th of July being off, I guess maybe the next meeting will be when we get some feedback, if we get some feedback from the state and from quantum engineering on what we might be able to do this year. If this thing could actually go forward, maybe we want to get our drum out and start beating it if we're really going to have an advertisement for construction. That would be awesome.
Okay.
So I'll leave it open unless somebody's got some particular idea on when we might meet again or might want to meet again.
Well, it might be good to just put a stake in the ground and say this is when we're going to meet again, just to keep the conversation going, seeing how we're doing with the progress with Nick, for example, in the town.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay. Yeah.
How about after the election?
Okay.
The election we said was the 23rd of June.
June.
Right?
Yeah.
Tentatively.
Yeah. So we'll do it after that. Let me get a calendar here.
Well, since it's nothing going on July 4th, how about that day?
That's true.
Thursday.
My son's getting married in theory.
On July 4th?
Yes, but I don't know
Wow.
that it's going to happen right now. Who knows?
Wow.
It's still planned. The invitations just went out.
Oh,
So
my.
You're committed, man. Have you been?
July 4th is really Independence Day.
that's
true.
correct.
And getting married is not really establishing independence.
Yeah. Tell George and Joyce Fitz that.
I have something to add, perhaps, but I don't want to take up any time in the meeting. I talked with Nelson about getting some time to be on new business, but I guess we've used it up pretty much.
Yeah, let me just finish this one item. The 26th of June is a Friday. It's after the election. So we'll know what happened, and maybe that'd be a good time for the next meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 26th. I wanted to get that nailed down before we.
Okay.
Okay. What
All right, Nelson. I did have something I just wanted to lay in front of the committee.
Okay.
I know you don't think that the railroad is part of the town center, and maybe it isn't got anything to do with our committee, but there's been an awful lot of positive talk about the commuter train is going to be able to be funded, and but there's been absolutely no mention of having a stop in Merrimack, and I'm particularly excited about having a stop in Merrimack if the commuter train ever happens. And there are certain aspects of planning for that stop that are very important. And there's been an awful lot of successful fruition to ideas in Curitiba, Brazil. I know it's a long ways away, but many cities in the world have been very aware of what has happened in Curitiba, Brazil, to make things much better for public transportation. And I have talked with Jay Minkara about this idea of getting a stop in Merrimack talked about at least, and perhaps gotten on the agenda for the whole plan of the train. And I think it would add to their business plan a great deal if we were able to design stops in Merrimack that only take a matter of seconds, actually, and would not interrupt the real travel time from Concord down to Boston. So I have a bunch of stuff on what has happened in Curitiba, and anybody that wants a copy of that stuff, I think I had Kyle in mind and Nelson in mind. But anybody that wants that stuff and be able to study it and think that the Town Center Committee might have an interest in pitching in to make sure that we get one or two stops of that train in Merrimack. Merrimack is a very long town.
Yes, it is.
So, any interest?
Can you get it to Nelson?
Any interest in that at all?
Can you get the information to Nelson, or at least a summary, so that he could maybe send it to us electronically?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do.
I personally would love to see that. I just did a little, Google search on it, and it really is.
Is that Matt Chemino?
Yeah, this is Matt, and this is.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Mr. Flood. I loved your comment about Independence Day. We can always count on you to come up with something clever. Yeah, I'm reading a little article over here on it, and it's really kind of piqued my interest. I work for the school department, school system, and I've been doing this for 25, 26 years. But before then, I used to work for the town of Hooksett on the town side, and was involved in a lot of the planning there, not as, like a Carl Fox or anything like that, but as the financial guy. And this sort of thing really kind of interests me. And just kind of looking at what you brought up and what it did to the community without bulldozing down important buildings and laying highway and having it look like, I-5 in LA at rush hour is just, it's really interesting. So I would be definitely interested in seeing something that from, I don't know, just my own curiosity and my own, further study on the whole subject. I think it's kind of interesting that only Peter would come up with a place in Brazil to bring to a committee in Merrimack to use as an example of, transit systems. I don't even know how Mr. Flood found that, but there's a lot that's mysterious about Mr. Flood that we don't know about, I would imagine. So,
Well,
appreciate
Jay Minkara had never heard of it, and a professor down at Wentworth Institute had never heard of that. When I got her interested in it, she put it on her curriculum.
Yeah.
Do we have budget
So-
for a road trip?
What?
Yeah, let's go to Brazil.
I think we have enough money maybe to send Nelson down.
I don't know.
And Nelson, you really need to get out more.
In the meantime, we can straighten your pictures out.
Yeah.
We have enough money for a one-way ticket, Nelson.
Okay. That's good to spread around, Peter. I think it's good to keep thinking about those things and looking into them and see where they apply. I know there's been a lot of interest in the railroad in the past, and it comes and goes in waves. It always comes down to money, and then sort of wilts on the vine. Anyway, if there's nothing else for this committee, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. And Peter,
So
if you
moved.
have material, I will distribute it to the whole committee.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by Bill, seconded by
Karen.
By Karen. Okay, all those in favor? I suppose I have to call another.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good weekend, guys.
No, don't go yet. You got to vote first. I got to.
Aye.
Vote to adjourn. Aye.
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 Matt Trevor, aye.
Karen, Matt.
Finley, aye.
We've got Kyle,
Aye.
Nelson. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're missing one. Who-
Bill
Finley.
Wilkes, aye.
Finley.
And Finley, aye.
I got Finley. I got Matt. I got Karen. Bill and Bill. And
Peter.
slide, Peter. Because your face isn't on my screen here, and so I almost forgot you. Thank you all for attending this. We'll look forward to doing it on the, what did I say, the 23rd?
26th of June.
26th.
Friday the 26th.
Hopefully we'll be celebrating that day, the passing of the budgets and warrant article.
Yes.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Take
Hello.
care.
Matt, before you go, Matt, can you give me a call when you get a moment
Yeah, sure.
regarding our project?
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks.
Karen.
Have a good weekend.
All right, guys. Take care.
See you
Thank you.
guys.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yes.